The news broke like a thunderclap. Ireland chooses Canada. It was the kind of headline that seemed almost impossible, the sort of announcement that would have been dismissed as fantasy just days before. Yet, as the story flashed across screens and news tickers, it was undeniable. Ireland, a nation with deep historical ties to the United States, had made a decision that would send ripples across the Atlantic and beyond. Across Dublin and Washington, disbelief reigned. In the Irish capital, people stopped in their tracks, staring at their phones, exchanging worried glances. In Washington, the news was met with stunned silence, quickly followed by a flurry of urgent phone calls and emergency meetings. The sense of shock was palpable, as if the ground itself had shifted beneath their feet. Ireland, long seen as America's closest European ally, had announced a sweeping new partnership with Canada. The two nations, both with histories shaped by colonialism and migration, now stood shoulder to shoulder, signaling a new era of cooperation. The symbolism was unmistakable. A new friendship was being forged, one that would reshape the balance of power across the Western world. Outside Leinster House, the seat of Irish government, reporters clamored for answers, but officials offered little. The air was thick with speculation and rumor. What had prompted such a dramatic move? Was this a response to recent tensions with Washington, or the result of months of secret negotiations? The government remained tight-lipped, fueling even more questions. This wasn't just a trade deal, it was a seismic shift in alliances. The agreement, described as historic by insiders, covered everything from economic cooperation to joint defense initiatives. Lawmakers pored over the details, aware that the decisions made in these chambers would echo for generations. For decades, the U.S. was Ireland's protector and economic anchor. American investment had helped transform Ireland's economy, and generations of Irish leaders had looked to Washington for support and guidance. The relationship was more than political, it was personal, woven into the fabric of both nations. The idea of Ireland turning away was unthinkable, until now. In homes and pubs across the country, people struggled to process the news. Some felt betrayed, others hopeful for a new beginning. Social media exploded with debate as citizens tried to make sense of what this meant for their future. The new agreement with Canada covered trade, technology, defense, and climate policy, sidelining the U.S. in key areas. It promised billions in investment, new research partnerships, and a joint commitment to tackling climate change. For Ireland, it was a bold step into the unknown. For the U.S., it was a wake-up call. In Washington, shock quickly turned to anger. Lawmakers demanded answers, while diplomats scrambled to assess the damage. The sense of betrayal was keenly felt, especially among those who had long counted on Ireland as a steadfast ally. The White House scrambled for answers while former President Trump called it a betrayal. He took to social media and rallies, denouncing the move as a stab in the back and warning of dire consequences. The administration, meanwhile, tried to project calm, but the cracks were showing. News cycles buzzed with speculation. Was this the start of a broader realignment in global politics? Would other nations follow Ireland's lead? Pundits and analysts debated the implications late into the night as the world watched and waited. In Irish-American strongholds like Boston and New York, confusion and sadness mixed with disbelief. For many, the bond between Ireland and America was more than political. It was a matter of identity, of family, of shared history. Now, that connection felt suddenly fragile. The annual St. Patrick's Day parades, the deep cultural ties, suddenly all felt uncertain. Would the celebrations continue as before, or would this new reality cast a shadow over cherished traditions? The sense of loss was real, even as some hoped for reconciliation. The Dublin pivot wasn't just a headline, it was a turning point, a moment when the world realized that old alliances could no longer be taken for granted. The phrase quickly entered the global lexicon, symbolizing a new era of uncertainty. It was a symbol of shifting global loyalties and a direct challenge to U.S. leadership. Old certainties were gone, replaced by a sense that anything was possible, and that nothing was guaranteed. The world was changing, and America's place in it was no longer guaranteed. As markets wobbled and leaders recalibrated, the sense of instability grew. The Atlantic, once a bridge between allies, now felt like a widening gulf. The shockwave had only just begun. As the first ripples spread across the ocean, one thing was clear: the world would never be the same again. For centuries, Ireland and the United States were bound by more than just geography or politics. They were connected by family ties, shared hardship, and the pursuit of a better life. Waves of Irish immigrants crossed the Atlantic, driven by famine, poverty, and hope, seeking refuge and opportunity on American shores. Their stories became woven into the very fabric of the American dream. Irish immigrants helped build America from the ground up. They laid railroad tracks that stretched across the continent, toiled in factories, and shaped the skylines of growing cities. Their sweat and determination fueled the rise of a nation, and their influence seeped into every corner of American society, from bustling city neighborhoods to the halls of power. The connection ran deep, from the Kennedys, whose Irish roots inspired millions, to countless Irish-American leaders who shaped policy and culture. The Irish presence in America was unmistakable. Parades, community centers, and political rallies celebrated a heritage that refused to fade, even generations after the first arrivals. This wasn't just sentiment, it was a strategic partnership, forged in the fires of history and tested by time. The two nations stood together on the world stage, their alliance strengthened by shared values and mutual respect. The U.S. played a crucial role in the Northern Ireland peace process, with American leaders mediating and supporting the historic Good Friday Agreement. This intervention cemented trust and gratitude, and for many in Ireland, it proved that America was more than just a distant friend, it was a true partner in peace. American investment transformed Ireland's economy, turning it from one of Europe's poorest countries into a modern powerhouse. U.S. companies set up headquarters in Dublin, bringing jobs, innovation, and prosperity. Ireland became a gateway for American business into Europe, and the flow of capital and ideas seemed unstoppable. The economic bond was strong. Deals were struck, partnerships formed, and both nations benefited from a relationship that appeared unbreakable. For decades, it seemed nothing could shake the foundation of this transatlantic friendship. As the world changed, so too did the relationship. Cracks began to appear as U.S. politics shifted, and the certainty that once defined the partnership started to waver. The rise of America First policies under President Trump sent shockwaves across the Atlantic. Ireland, long accustomed to a reliable ally, suddenly found itself questioning the intentions and reliability of its old friend. Headlines in Dublin reflected growing unease, and officials watched nervously as U.S. priorities seemed to turn inward. Tariffs, unpredictable diplomacy, and a retreat from global leadership left Dublin uneasy. The rules of engagement were changing, and Ireland was forced to reconsider its place in a world where old alliances no longer felt secure. The steady hand that once guided peace and prosperity now felt erratic, leaving allies uncertain and adversaries emboldened. The sense of stability that had defined U.S.-Ireland relations was slipping away. Quiet concerns grew into open anxieties. In Parliament, in the press, and on the streets, questions about the future of the partnership became impossible to ignore. Was the era of unbreakable bonds coming to an end? Irish leaders met with their American counterparts, searching for reassurance. The answers were often vague, and the sense of shared purpose that once defined the relationship seemed to be fading. The foundations of the friendship, once solid and enduring, now felt unstable. The images of historic handshakes and shared triumphs began to fade, replaced by uncertainty and doubt. The bond was fraying, and Ireland was quietly, but determinedly, looking for new ground. New partnerships beckoned, and the search for allies who shared Ireland's values and vision for the future began in earnest. The world Ireland once knew was slipping away, replaced by a new reality where adaptability and resilience were more important than nostalgia. The story of Ireland and America was entering a new chapter, one filled with both uncertainty and possibility. The search for a new partner had begun, and as Ireland stepped onto the world stage, it did so with the lessons of history in mind, ready to forge new bonds but never forgetting the ties that once seemed unbreakable. In recent years, as the political climate in the United States became increasingly unpredictable, Ireland began to reconsider its closest international partnerships. Instead of looking west, Ireland turned its gaze northward, to Canada. This shift wasn't just about politics, it was about finding a partner that shared Ireland's values and vision for the future. Canada stood out as a beacon of stability and reliability on the world stage. Its commitment to multilateralism, diplomacy, and international cooperation resonated deeply with Irish leaders. Both countries saw eye to eye on the importance of working together with other nations rather than going it alone. As a result, high-level meetings between Irish and Canadian officials became more frequent than ever before. These weren't just symbolic gestures. Real progress was made, with both sides eager to turn discussions into concrete actions that would benefit their citizens. Both Ireland and Canada placed a strong emphasis on tackling global challenges like climate change. They prioritized international cooperation, respect for human rights, and a rules-based order over the pursuit of raw power or self-interest. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, or CETA, between Canada and the European Union, provided a ready-made framework for deepening economic ties. This agreement made it easier for Irish businesses to access Canadian markets, and vice versa, strengthening the economic bond between the two nations. For Ireland, Canada emerged as a logical and reliable choice for partnership. Unlike other global powers, Canada offered collaboration without the political drama or unpredictability, making it an attractive ally in uncertain times. While the United States brought a sense of uncertainty and risk, Canada represented opportunity, optimism, and a sense of shared purpose. Irish leaders and businesses found reassurance in Canada's steady approach. In Canada, Ireland discovered not just a new friend, but a partner for the future, one that offered safety, smart collaboration, and a shared commitment to building a better world together. The economic cost of losing Ireland was real and growing. The US was no longer the only game in town. The world was moving on. Ireland's move was a warning and a lesson. The world was watching, and the stakes had never been higher. America's next steps would shape its future alliances. America's friendship had become unpredictable, and Ireland chose certainty. The world was watching, and others were taking notes. The cost of erratic policy was now undeniable. The map of global alliances is being redrawn. America's shadow is shrinking. The future belongs to those who adapt.